Hello Cherries fans and welcome to the next in the top 10 series on Back of the Net. My name's Sam Davis.
My name's Tom Jordan.
And I'm Tigz.
Hope you're enjoying the summer break. I must admit, Tom, I'm not. It's horrible.
Yeah, I enjoy watching the playoff final, but now that's done, it feels a bit... Yeah, I'm just waiting now for some more news, but I suppose we need a little bit of a break, a little bit of a reset, as Scott Parker was saying. We'll go again soon.
Yeah, absolutely. And Tigz, are you getting much work done now that there's no football happening?
Oh, mate, wherever I can find a bit of football, I'll do it. I'm suckling at the teat of football, any opportunity. So we've got a bit of football coming up. So I think the internationals, I've been trying to get lots of those in and enjoy those. But yeah, it's weird. When football's not there, I'm still thinking about football. So yeah.
I was watching Poland-Wales the other day. I thought, what am I doing? What am I doing?
Were you watching it on S4C in
Something
Welsh?
like that. Yeah, Kiefer Moore played all right though. I was pleased with Kiefer, yeah.
Well, look, this video is especially for Edward Early in the YouTube comments, who seemingly says on every video, where's Mr. Tigz? Well, look, he's here. We'll get Dawson back in due course, of course, and we'll get Jeff Hayward as well as we do a few interviews coming up on the channel over the next couple of months or so. But this video is another top 10, and it's the top 10 reasons why we'll miss the championship. I mean, look, the journey is sometimes described as better than the destination, Tigz. The Premier League, there are lots of things and lots of reasons why we should be excited, but also reasons why we probably shouldn't as well. But the championship, there's not much bad to it, is there?
I mean, we've had a fantastic record in the championship, haven't we? All the years we've been there. Certainly, and since I wasn't there, I didn't watch it when we had Harry Redknapp in the championship. So, I mean, we got 3 seasons in, 4 seasons in the championship?
Yeah. One was behind closed doors, technically, wasn't it?
So I love it.
Right, Tom, do you want to start off with one of the first reasons why the championship is better than the We're not saying it's better, but reasons why we'll miss it. Number one.
Yeah, well, everyone knows what number one is.
Go on.
No VAR.
Apart from in the playoff final, of course. And that was controversial.
Yeah, well, that worked wonders, didn't
God,
it? Yeah, don't get it. We were talking about it beforehand, and it's, that playoff final just epitomised why I think it's so odd, because there were 2 things that you think, well, they're probably penalties, but the VAR just go, was it clear and obvious error? Probably not. We'll leave it when it's not really getting the decision right. But yeah, I think more as a going to games fan is the frustration with it, is that celebrating of goals, that raw emotion. I remember you did a vlog for that Burnley game when it all went tits up, and you're celebrating goals and you just, but you can't. You feel like you're waiting all the time. So that's going to be frustrating and take a bit of time to get used to again, I suppose. But it is what it is. It's going to be the same for all teams, I suppose, mate. But yeah, I'm definitely going to miss the fact that you can go to games with no VAR.
There were a number of games in the Premier League, weren't there, where it didn't bode well for us. But then ones where it also did as well. I remember in a 2-2 at home against West Ham, I think. Josh King netted, and I think the referee said no, but then honestly, it took over 2 minutes for them to work it out whether he was offside or not, and they gave it. So that's one that worked for us. Dan Gosling at Chelsea, of course, which was, I think he celebrated 3 times during that game. But on the whole, it's something that I'm going to miss. Do you think you're going to be celebrating goals not as intensely as you would be next season?
I think it's weird. I think I'm going to have to get used to it again.
Yeah,
I think I will celebrate, and then I'll go, oh, wait a minute, what's going on? I don't know. The conversation rages on. How long have we had it now? 3 seasons?
Yeah, and it's not really got any better, has it?
Hasn't really. Nothing's changed. So yeah, it's not something I'm looking forward to.
I think they need to do more for the fans that go to games. I think when you're watching games on telly, you can kind of know what's going on.
Yeah, agreed.
But when you're at the game, you don't have a clue, and you're looking online, and your mates message you going, they're checking for this, and you go, oh, are they? Because when you're in the stadium, you don't actually know what's going on. I think they need to do something more with that, just so the match-going fan can see what's happening. But yeah, it's going to take some getting used to. I'll probably just go mad when we score, and then in preparation to get memed up when it doesn't count. But yeah, so
that's if you don't miss the goal, of course.
Of course.
We're ready for it. Number 2 is the variety of grounds, and I put this one in because that's one of the reasons why I love the Championship. You can go to, no disrespect intended, like places like Kenilworth Road that have got small capacities like our own stadium, but it's small, it's dilapidated, it's antiquated, the view's terrible. You get free beer, which is always a bonus, but it's one of these old school grounds, and then you get the historical grounds as well, and then you get the ones with massive capacities too, like 40,000 odd. You've got such variety. Next season, arguably, it's probably more variety because with Sunderland in there, and then some of the teams that have gone up. And, that's one thing that you don't get in the Premier League.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And I think it's that character that I think a lot of them bring, and there's so much uniqueness to each ground, whereas you feel like there's a bit more of a similarity with a lot of stadiums in the Premier League, and like you say, you get a variety. And I was pleased because obviously we nearly went up the season before, and we would have missed that whole championship because we couldn't go to games. So I was actually weirdly pleased that we got to experience it. But yeah, definitely going to miss some of them. I mean, it's nice because it's going to be a lot of different stadiums because we didn't have them this year. But yeah, I will miss a lot of them. Luton stands out, doesn't it, and Peterborough and things like that, and different stuff around the ground, and yeah, just a bit more character, I would say, to these sort of stadiums. So I will miss that.
It's the most championship next season, I saw someone say. I think that's pretty much spot on, and I think that's the wonder of the championship is so many of those clubs have played as well in the Premier League. So you go there with a certain amount of nostalgia, don't you? I remember when, Blackburn were Premier League, inaugural champions. So it's, going places like that is pretty special.
I tell you what though, I just checked, the sort of list of teams that are in there next season. I think in terms of like miles on the road, we've saved a few miles because so many teams in the northwest alone. You got like Wigan, you got Preston, you got Blackpool, you got Blackburn, Burnley, etc.
Yeah, so I actually think it's going to be a tougher league, to be honest. Teams like Sunderland and that, it's going to be really tough. But as you say, more northern, so we'll take that, I suppose. But yeah, it's going to be a tough league. I'm kind of glad we got out of it.
All right, Tom. Point number 3. What are you going to go for?
The playoffs.
Yeah.
The playoffs, it's just unbelievable, isn't it?
If you're not in them, they're really exciting to watch, and also it keeps the league alive for about 6 or 7 more teams than it otherwise would.
Yeah.
I'm not sure when they were brought in, but obviously they are really exciting. I felt sorry / not sorry for like Northampton in League 2, who were pretty much home and dry. Like never would Bristol Rovers have won 7-0. They did, and then they got knocked out of the playoff semis.
It's crazy, but it's nice. Like even like obviously the way it turned out, it didn't matter. But that last game, like we're playing Millwall. Millwall had a little chance, so it just keeps everything going. It almost feels like you get into them last few weeks of the season of the Championship, and everyone's still got something to play for because you can just pip in 6th, and then when you go into it, the team that have come third are never massive favourites over the team that comes 6th. It's even though they might have finished 10 points clear. So yeah, it definitely gives more excitement, but I do like not being in it.
Yeah,
Because I always think, I don't know statistically off the top of my head, when I watch the playoff final, it's always a bit nervy. Because you know how much is on the line. You can see that, and no one wants to make an error, and it is one of the biggest games in football, isn't it, really, that playoff final, how much money it gives you. And yeah, it gives teams opportunities. You look at like Luton and what they did, it's amazing. If it was just top 2, well up, and I think you'd always see kind of the big hitters. It's nice you can see teams like Luton and Huddersfield, who I predicted to go down, remember, getting into the playoff final. So yeah, I'm going to miss that. But then equally, can still watch it. I'll probably still watch it with a lot of enjoyment, just sitting back like we did this year.
And also on that final day, it just means there are so many different connotations. I mean, this season not so much.
Well, there was like Millwall could have snuck in there. There was a few, but things could happen because anything can happen in the Championship. That's it might be something that comes up later. The unpredictability of it is so exciting. I remember when we got to when we played in the playoffs, the Cardiff one. And people telling you like, oh, this is the best way to get promoted is through the playoffs. No one tells you that until you're in the playoffs today. No one wants it until they're in it.
Yeah, it's an amazing way to go up. But you would never take that risk, would you, of trying to do it? But to be fair, obviously it was us and Forest going for automatic, and they'll be fine now because they've done the job. So they'll be thinking, it was a really good way to go up. But yeah, it wasn't easy for them. But it is a lovely way to go up. I loved that against Lincoln. That was superb.
Go on. So I was going to say, lots of Forest fans I've seen messaging, they've got a trophy and we haven't this season. So.
We've got a few little medals.
We've got that really small pointless trophy they handed out. That was weird.
I didn't know they did that.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
I'm expecting floods of messages anyway, thanking us for Steve Cook.
Yeah.
When are
they going to happen?
You're welcome. Do you know what I mean? I haven't had any thanks. We gave him Steve Cook and he's gone up twice. 2 teams. What a player.
Point number 4. We've got unexpected results every week.
Yeah.
And, in the Premier League, you've got results that are almost a given.
Yeah.
You can assume that certain teams will always pick up 3 points or whatever, or won't lose. But in the Championship, you haven't really got that.
No.
Fulham were the runaway leaders this season. Well, I say that, they were only 2 points ahead of us. But even they had the odd slip-up this season, which you didn't quite expect. But further down the table, it's a dog-eat-dog division, really, isn't it?
I think it's that when we were talking the other day when we were going through the predictions of the league table that you and I did, I think when we do the Premier League one, which I'm sure we will, it's just, Man City are top 4.
Yeah.
Liverpool are top 4. There's so many givens. There's no doubt that you're going to do better predicting the Premier League than you are the Championship, because I've said before, I think the Championship is 24 teams, and I reckon at the start of every season, 20 believe they can get top 6, and that says it all, really. I mean, you look at Sunderland, just got promoted from League One, for example. They'll be thinking, never know. And you look at, Blackpool this season had a little bit of a surge for a bit, and it's never a guarantee unless there's points deductions, obviously like the season we just had, of who's going to go down, and that's why it's so difficult. I mean, we mentioned about Huddersfield were the bookies' favourites to go down. They got the playoff final, and that's the league, mate, and it's amazing.
Well, yeah, that's what I was about to say. Because of the unexpected results, there is always, for every season, a team that's a surprise package in their text.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Always.
And it's a great leveler, I think, the Championship as well. I know you can do the whole parachute payment chat thing, sure, whatever, but I do think it's really interesting, because if you think of like Man City when you're in the Premier League, right? You take their manager and you put him in charge of Luton. How well would he get on?
Yeah.
There's a real levelling kind of feel to the Championship, and also you've got these like massive clubs as well.
Yeah.
I do find it really interesting. I think Tom's right. Like 20 out of 24. In fact, if Tom was to mention 20 out of 24, you'd have the other 4 clubs that you mentioned saying, no, we can do it. So it's it's a great
like
level.
Birmingham City.
Yeah, exactly. Just stayed up. But you get that all the time. Like you say, you get that all the time. And if City, for example, drop points against a Palace, like I think they did this season, it's a massive shock.
Yeah.
Whereas it ain't a shock if we drop points to Peterborough, because we've done it twice. It ain't a shock if we drop points to Hull, because we've done it twice, and we went up. It's we went up. We lost to bottom of the league. That's what it's like, and it's not a massive shock. And as you said, it felt like Fulham ran away with it. They dropped points to Blackpool, who had just come up, and it's not ever deemed to be a massive shock, is it? No. I think that says it all, really.
Point 5, Saturday, Tuesday games. I love that, Tigz. And also, what's quite nice about it is that because the Championship also takes on the international break, they're quite condensed as well. So you seem to get a lot of them, which I really like about it, because there's nothing better than a game under the floodlights, right?
Oh, completely, yeah. And keeping it running, just keeping that momentum going. Great when you're at the top of the league, but even great when you're at the bottom, because what you don't want a long week between losses. Genuinely, you don't. You want to keep kind of have an opportunity to correct things as quickly as you can. So an evening game is just something special, isn't it? And I love the fact that they weren't all televised as well.
Yeah, it feels like you've got a game all the time, doesn't it? Especially if there's a little storm as well in the country. We've got tin pot grounds, so that's going to cause some problems, give you more games. So, no, but I love it. The quick turnarounds, like you say, it feels like you've always got a game to bounce back. As Tigz said, if you've struggled, you think, well, we can rectify this in a couple of days' time. Yeah. It's great.
I certainly remember in the Premier League, when we sort of lost a match before the international break, it was horrible, because there was 2 weeks to wait, and then when we did, it was just the one game, and then it was the following weekend. Whereas often in the Championship, you'll have a match when you come back on the Saturday, but there will be one on the Tuesday or the Wednesday, which is better. So certainly love Saturday, Tuesday games, and we're going to miss that. Tom, also point number 6.
It's got to be, particularly as a War fan, but if you come up from the Championship, it's that expectation to win more games.
Yeah,
if
I
know. You go to games expectant and hopeful and all them things. You go to the Premier League, and as I say, yes, we've done it against Chelsea, for example, loads of times, but you're going into games thinking, this is going to be a tough one, tough watch, we're not going to have much of the ball, it's going to be tedious, and we just hope we can grind something out. Whereas in the Championship, as we mentioned, because of the unpredictability of it, every game, every team feels like if we turn it on, we can win. I feel like, I think we've played City. We've never got anything off City.
No, we haven't.
And you feel like you have to be at your top levels to try and keep the score down. It's just...
Our closest against City, I think, was obviously when Raheem Sterling scored
2-1.
Late on, but also in COVID times as well, where
2-1 as well,
Brooks pulled one back.
That's right.
And then we went close as well. But,
they're the only team we've never taken anything from, have they?
Yeah. It was, like you say, there's some that we haven't taken much off. I think Tottenham we've beaten once. We've got a draw with them, but they're like monumental things that I'd always remember because they're such a surprise. Whereas in the Championship, as we alluded to, you feel like you can win every game, whatever team you are. That's going to be getting used to as well, because you've just gone from the Championship. I think Fulham are even more of a prime example of just blowing teams away, and suddenly now you're going to the complete reversal of having to grind things out. So it's harder because you've got that massive turnaround of going into games thinking this is going to be a hard watch.
And we've never had it before in our history, apart from last season and the season before that, whereby we've only ever, that's the first ever times that we've been expected to do something. We've never had fan expectation before, apart from the season after relegation and apart from the subsequent season as well.
It's a really weird shift, isn't it? Like when we were in the Premier League, the whole time we were in the Premier League, even after we had that really good season where we finished 9th, we were still seen as such a, and I know like people will say, well, yeah, you are a small club, but we were seen as an easy win for a lot of teams.
We're massive.
And even when we were 9th, it was we're punching above our weight.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then we win the Championship, and really, for us, we've been around long enough to know that, where is our genuine place in football? If you were to put all of our years together, where would we be most of the time? Well, we're still above where we would expect to be based upon that. So, but when we go to teams, or teams come to us, they go, oh, Bournemouth. Oh, Bournemouth. They never had that before in our history, have we? Ever.
No.
We were always the underdog. Actually, I found it a little bit unsettling, if I'm honest.
I quite like being the underdog.
I love being the underdog.
I like being the underdog.
Well,
so when we're not, it's like, oh.
Yeah.
Point number 7 are the atmospheres in the stadiums. And look, in the Premier League, of course, you've got the famous atmospheres of the Etihad and the Emirates and Anfield after they stop singing You'll Never Walk Alone. And they're not particularly great in terms of the atmospheres. And whilst on our tier list that we did, the Away Day Review show, there were some fan bases that weren't particularly great. I think, in all, on average, the Championship fans are a lot louder than what you get in the Premier League. And I don't know why that is. The kind of like tourist league, I don't know.
I feel like that's probably part of it.
Yeah.
I feel when you go to, I don't know, you go to Luton, you go to Borough, or any of these teams, you feel like everyone in that stadium is just desperate to win. Everything's all about the game.
And this could hark back to what you say about the like top 20 sides or whatever, thinking that they can actually do something.
Yeah, and there's so much hope in the stadium, and there's so much, you can see how much it means to everyone. Whereas when you're in the Premier League, like you say, Etihad, I'm not picking anyone, I'm just pulling ones out of my head, Old Trafford. You feel like there is a big section of fans that are just coming to watch a big team and a game, and and you see, obviously we're a YouTube channel, but you see there's certain YouTube channels that go to big matches just to record and show you what a big game's like, and you don't get that Luton v Peterborough. It's not going to happen. So there's a part of that, and I think, and there's even from an away fan perspective, so there will be a section that think, I'm just kind of here to enjoy. Oh, we get to see, I remember when we went up to the Premier League, I was going, blooming heck, we get to see, David Silva today, or we get to see Aguero. It's going to be, whereas, you're not doing that when you're in the Championship. You're just desperate to win, and you're just there for your team. So there's definitely a better atmosphere in general, I think, when you're in the Championship.
This probably links into point A, and this is maybe a bit of a controversial one. Tigz, the lack of TV games, because obviously in the Premier League everything is televised. There's streams for every single game.
Yeah.
I think domestically over half of them are televised on Sky or BT or Amazon anyway.
Yeah.
But you can watch your team's game. What that does mean though is there tend to be more like armchair supporters.
Yep.
And there seems to be in the Championship, there seems to be a drop-off of your Johnny-come-latelys, whereas in the Premier League, you seem to get a lot of it.
Yeah, it's sort of, it links in with what Tom said. The Premier League in itself is a spectacle, so people come regardless of their allegiances. I've been at plenty of games where in front of me have been just people who have just sat there. They're not a fan of Bournemouth, they're not a fan of Chelsea, Arsenal, West Ham. I've seen it at all those games I can think of, and Man City. But I think the television thing is really interesting because it does draw a certain amount of attention, but is it the sort of attention that you always want? Yeah, I mean, if in terms of making money, but in terms of an atmosphere, building an atmosphere, not so much. I mean, I think it does when we go down to the Championship. Is you get more genuine fans, don't you? Again?
Yeah, I think you do. Yeah, I agree with what Tigz said. I think you get a few fans as well that kind of come and go, and then they see it's on telly and think, I can just watch it on the telly, and then I can tap into this game if this game's not great, etc., etc. So I think you do probably get a bit more of them genuine fans when you go down the leagues because it's harder to watch it if you're not at the game. So that's definitely part of it, I'd say. So I prefer it when the game's not on telly, to be honest.
That said, next season we will be doing some watch-alongs for non-AFC Bournemouth matches, won't we?
Of course.
Which that'll be really interesting. So looking forward to doing that. Right then, point 9. This is an interesting one. Tigz, you came up with this.
Did I?
Knowledgeable supporters. Right, so arguably the fans of EFL clubs, they know their club better than the stay-at-home Premier League tourist fans. Therefore, when you're having interactions on social media, generally they're more qualified. Whereas sometimes you can get I swear there's more football Twitter accounts, like FT accounts for Premier League clubs.
Of course.
Yeah, of course there is.
And you get more of these kind of sweeping statements that are made to like antagonise. Whereas in the Championship, you get a lot more stimulating debate because people know their stuff.
Yeah, and with the greatest respect, I'm going to say something now that might upset some people, but with the greatest respect to the Newcastle fans, you know, when Eddie Howe went to become their manager, now if he'd gone to a Championship club, they would know their stuff. It's quality, isn't it, over quantity. I think you get such a broad range of views when you get to the Premier League that some of them are just bananas, quite frankly. Whereas, with the Championship fans of most Championship clubs, they have a really good handle on their club, and they have a really good handle on the other clubs that they are playing against. They genuinely find out about it, and I think there's a lot more kind of non-biased kind of content out there as well. Certainly on YouTube, like your Benjamin Blooms and people like that, you don't really get. I don't remember that being there wasn't a quality, there wasn't a plethora of stuff when you get to the Premier League. It was very, very much, you know, if you go to Arsenal TV, you know, that's very straight, you know, we're Arsenal. So,
and also, along the lines of that, the media that you get that cover the Premier League are very top six biased, whereas in the Championship you don't have that.
No.
Like people like Benjamin Bloom or whatever, they cover each and every club.
Yeah.
You know, the same amount, which is a nice thing.
We were talking about that, weren't we? Like when we beat Chelsea a few times, it was all about how bad Chelsea were.
Yeah.
You don't really get the credit, but I think, you know, like what Tigz has said, it's bang on. Like the Eddie Howe thing, everyone in the Premier League and the media and stuff seemed really shocked at what Eddie did at Newcastle. But no one below that was sure. Everyone was going, well, yeah, that's what Eddie Howe does.
Yeah, exactly.
And we weren't surprised. And Tigz mentioned about Benjamin Bloom there. I think, you know, James Alcott's one of my favourite kind of content creators. He's a QPR fan.
Yeah.
And I think it probably goes down to a little bit, it's no one's fault, but I think when you're in your Premier League and you're one of the big boys, you're talking about players that say you want your club to sign or are doing really well, that everyone knows, if it's Neymar, I don't know, whatever. Yeah. Whereas when you're in the Championship, like, you need to look at the lower leagues, because you know, he's doing well at League One. Could he make a step up? He's only in his mid-20s, but you're not going to do that if you're in the Premier League, because you're going to be punching well above League One.
It's a good division that bridges the gap.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously it does naturally bridge the gap between the Premier League and League One, but quite often when you're in the Premier League, and I'll hold my hands up to this, when we were in the Premier League, I took a little bit of interest of what's going on in the Championship. League One, couldn't give a toss.
Yeah.
You didn't really care. Whereas now you're sort of looking at it thinking, okay, which teams are coming up?
Yeah.
We're looking at players from these type of sides. We signed James Hill from Fleetwood, for example.
Yeah.
So there is more of that. Whereas I think maybe in the Premier League you're sort of in your own bubble a little bit more and you're more insular perhaps.
Yeah, I agree with that. When you're in the Champ, you're sandwiched between a couple of leagues, so you're thinking lower end of the Premier League, then you're also thinking, right, is there lower league players that can make the step up? So you've got a bit of a balance there. And as you say, in the Premier League, you're just looking so much higher up to compete that, it means, it probably makes sense, but it means your focus and your thought around football is very, very much down one way, whereas when you're in the Championship, you're a little bit more varied, I guess.
You've only got to look at kind of match of the day. It's its own little island. And then you look at the EFL show and the amount of kind of varied opinions you get on that, and you get no bias on that. They're very fair. And they don't talk about, you know, Fulham for 20 minutes just because they're top of the league. They try and spread it out, whereas you watch something like Match of the Day and they've almost feel like that's their duty, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, to speak to what the audience want, which is, I guess that's what
and people aren't going to get looked at unless they're doing it in the Premier League or doing it at a higher level. So we were, I think, a great example is no one knew who Dan Juma was. We went and got him from Bruges. No one has a clue. Now he's done well in the Champions League. Everyone's got Liverpool linked, Newcastle linked, Man U are linked. They weren't linked when he was at Club Bruges because that's where we had to look. And I think that's what happens. Unless you've done it at that high level, you don't really get looked at.
And finally, point 10 of the reasons why we'll miss the Championship is that, Tigz, you feel closer to the club naturally the lower down the pyramid your side is. It's true, isn't it?
Oh, definitely. That's just. I mean, it'd be interesting to see in the comments now whether people feel the same. But I mean, having years in the Premier League, years in the Championship, years in League One, years in League Two, genuinely, you do feel closer. And I don't think there's anything you can do about that. I think when you make that step up a league, there are commercial aspects, there are other things that the club have to concentrate on, and then perhaps that link with the fans goes a little bit. And I think it certainly kind of felt like it kind of went a little bit. I mean, COVID probably played its role a little bit in the last few seasons. But yeah, definitely.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And as you say, being in the lower leagues, you feel like, even with like the players and the staff, I mean, we even saw it this season, didn't we? Some of the games at the end of the season, we'll see our chairman at a game in the away pub. And you can go up to your player and have a bit of a chat with him. In the Premier League, it's no one's fault, but there's more security there. There's more, you know, you've got to be careful. You can't be, you know, everyone's going to be, you know, they're not going to let you walk up and have a chat with Cristiano Ronaldo. but you could probably do that to, I don't know, Billy Sharp.
That's a good point.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I think there's just that little bit, and that's understandable. That's nothing against anyone for that. That's always going to happen, as you say. But it is for sure. I remember being in the lower leagues, and you feel like you could just, when a player was walking off the pitch, you could just have a little chat with him.
Yeah.
You know, you ain't going to be able to do that. But as we mentioned earlier in the video, mate, sometimes maybe the journey is better than the destination, but it wouldn't be the same if you never got there. You've got to get there and experience it, and there'll still be a lot of good things to enjoy.
Well, soon we'll provide a video on 10 reasons why we can be excited about the Premier League. There's one for you. So make sure you subscribe to the channel, and there's a couple of other things they can do. There's a thumbs up thing in there, Tigz?
Yeah, please give us a thumbs up, like, subscribe, hit the little
Bell, innit?
That's the
bell.
Hit the bell, because that reminds you, doesn't it, when we're on and stuff, you know.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, we're out in all weathers.
Yeah, out in all weathers here. This is the kind of thing we do for you.
Should we get back of the net umbrellas?
Yeah.
Let us know what merch we should get. I reckon umbrellas right now. I don't know why I'm thinking of it right now, but I am.
And let us know in the comments below which other things you'll miss about being in the Championship as well. See you in the next video.
Bye.
Cheers. Bye. Cheers.